Hi guys, how are you? Blaine, first in off the bat. Jake Gleason blow. Nikki, oh, I gotta speak to you. It's been a while. MJ, hey honey, hi Carolyn, good to see you guys. Now, I don't know if this was gonna be interesting to anyone, and I wanted to get back into the true crime. Um, and I'm gonna if it goes well, I was going to do different countries, so I'll do the US next. I was thinking, I've thought about this a lot, like when you see, oh, thanks guys, oh, that's good, you're doing well. Um, Going for a run, that sounds energetic. I need to get back into walking. Um, Thank you. Yes, working on the backgrounds and all of the things. Um, yeah, I was thinking about how the US might not think so, but I think, like, generally sentences are pretty fair, like life without parole and things like that. Onrush, my brother! Um, and, but here, we don't kind of have those harsh sentences. Well, I won't say harsh, or they are fair, but we don't have them here. It's like people go to jail for like murder and get like 10 or 12 years. And I was gonna do it on that, and then I came across a whole heap of, like, not just for Australia, but like for a lot of places, miscarriages of justice. So it kind of like it fits into the same thing, but it's kind of flipped. It's kind of people who were convicted of a crime and then later on like exonerated or whatever, um, because new evidence came in, or things like that. So it's kind of like solving a cold case because we've got DNA now. So I thought that was quite interesting, myself. I don't know about you guys. The next one I'll do the US, since I think like 90% of my subscribers are from the US. But since I miss Murder Australia, I could insert a couple of those, Australian kind of stories in as well. So hopefully I've set this up right. I couldn't quite get the order right for the pictures and that, but this will give you an idea. Now this one is really interesting, and I am reading your I might stop and read your comments in the middle of this. Carolyn, being born and raised in the USA, we have what's called capital punishment, which is kind of like the death penalty. Yep, so we don't have capital punishment in Australia. Your knee is a bit stiff. Old injury is finally starting to be a regular inconvenience. Oh, I'm sorry, that's crap. That's crap. I've got fibromyalgia, so my knees hurt for freaking no reason. It's just been horrible. And Carolyn, you got a scam text? I'm tempted to try it. I've put Nord on my phone, so now I've got the VPN. I can change. I just would need to get some apps, that because we don't have spoof card or anything in Australia. So I would need to get a couple. I'm so tempted to call a couple. And yeah, Nikki, it's very different between the USA and Australia. Like, hugely different. But I guess this is a bit different. I could, because I would need to research more on that, like about what cases got what sentences. Just excuse me for a minute. I've got to get out of this habit of sitting on my left leg. It's really uncomfortable. So this dude, like, is well, I guess he's old. He's certainly dead. This crime happened on December 30th, 1921, and his name's Colin Campbell Ross. And this crime was rape and murder by strangulation of a girl named Alma. I can't even pronounce her last name. Turchka. It happened in Melbourne. It was a little girl. She was only 12. So she left home on an errand for her grandmother. And early the next morning, her body was found in Gun Alley, which is near Little Collins Street in Melbourne, like in the city of Melbourne. She'd been raped and strangled, and Colin Ross was convicted on the basis of several witnesses, and they testified that Ross confessed to them, as well as the police finding several strands of blonde hair on a blanket in Ross's house. Now remember, this is 1921. Sorry, I just have to flip back to, I keep going to the wrong spot. Access to information in particular. Yeah, look, Hot Scorpio Rogue, without saying anything, she is her own miscarriage of justice. I don't know. One day, if you want to come up and talk about it, but my goodness, it's horrible. It doesn't fit into this kind of thing where innocent people, were imprisoned. Okay, so remember, this is 1921. This is this is 100 years ago, right? Oh my god, I just realised. Okay, but in 1993, there was a school teacher named Kevin Morgan who began researching his case. So 27 years ago. And Morgan found a file in the Office of Public Prosecutions containing the original hair samples, which they thought at that time had been lost because it had been so long. They burn evidence and all the rest of it, or throw it out. And in 1998, two independent scientific authorities found that the two lots of hair that they found on a blanket in his house didn't come from the same person. Therefore, it disproved the certainty, the most damning piece of evidence presented at his trial. He was pardoned, get this, on May 27th, 2008, 86 years after his execution. His sentence was execution. He was executed, and he was pardoned 86 years later. How crazy is that? I'm like, blows my mind. I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit too late. So, oh my gosh. So, yeah, that could get you life in prison, in the US, and sexual exploitation of a minor, possibly get you on the registered sex offenders list. So, oh, good. In your own time. But so we did have the death penalty back then, obviously 100 years ago, because he was executed. I don't know what year it was taken out. But it was like, my goodness, 86 years later. I mean, I'm glad for his well, did he even go on to have a family? I don't know if he had a family or what have you. But in this day and age, if he had been tried, they would have been able to test the hair, and he probably wouldn't have been convicted, and So, I'm not sure, actually. What did we have back then? So before his execution, in his farewell letter to his family, so he did have a family, he wrote, "The day is coming when my innocence will be proved." I'm like, yeah, like what, 86 years later? And he said, "I am now face to face with my Maker, and I swear by Almighty God that I am an innocent man. I never saw the child, I never committed the crime, and I don't know who did. I never confessed to anyone. I ask God to forgive those who have sworn my life away, and I pray to God to have mercy on my poor darling mother and my family." So he was executed 24th of April 1922 at the Melbourne jail. Oh, in a particularly gruesome manner. Authorities had decided to experiment with a four-stranded rope rather than the usual three-stranded European hemp. Oh my god. The four-stranded rope did not run freely through the noose, and Ross did not die immediately because his spinal cord was fractured, not severed. Although his windpipe was torn and obstructed by his destroyed larynx, the condemned man continued with rasping breaths and convulsed on the rope. 3 times Ross bent his knees and flexed his arms before succumbing slowly, strangled to death by asphyxiation. A prison report later ruled that such a rope must be never used again. You think? You asked, Hot Scorpio Road. You asked how? I didn't expect to find that. Oh my god. Someone getting him pardoned, yeah, it would have helped the family a small bit. So obviously his mother's long dead, but this is 100 years ago. But if he had a family, I guess, those generations went on, and that would help a little bit. But I can't believe that's the way he died, and that they used that rope and went, oops, okay, we won't use that rope again. Let's go back to the European version. Yeah, you wanted to know. I didn't think that was what the answer was going to be. Oh my god. This one is interesting. I've read the book on this, and it's actually really really interesting. Hang on, is that the right picture? Yeah, it is, because it's Daryl Beamish on the left and John Button on the right. Now, I read the book about John Button, so it kind of... The guy on this is like in the late 50s, I think. So this was like December 20th, 1959. So the guy on the left is Daryl Beamish, and the crime was murder of a 22-year-old socialite, Gillian McPherson Brewer. So kind of like a murder of Paris Hilton, kind of like an influencer, a socialite. And this was in Perth. The sentence was death, so obviously we still had the death penalty in 1959, but he'd served 15 years. So Brewer was killed by an intruder with a tomahawk, which is kind of like an axe. I guess you have them in North America, and scissors in her beachside apartment. Beamish, on the left, who was deaf and mute, lived near her. He signed a confession which he claimed he signed under duress. How many times do we hear that? All over the world. It was later determined that Brewer's murder was likely committed by Perth serial killer Eric Edgar Cook, who confessed to the murder prior to his execution. And we've seen that before too, where serial killers have confessed to murders that they didn't do, I guess for notoriety or something like that. And another man, the guy on the right, John Button was also convicted of murders assumed to be have committed by the serial killer Cook. If you're with me, so that's why these two appear in photos together, because they're kind of linked in that way. And sorry, I've got this dry skin. So the serial killer Eric Cook confessed to killing her in 1963, and Beamish filed a petition to the Attorney General, which was referred to the Court of Criminal Appeals, like the appellate courts and that in the US, and they dismissed the reference in 1964. And they said that the case against Beamish was strong. And there was an appeal. I'm just trying to work out how this works into John Button's case. Because so the serial killer being Cook, and John Button kind of got the sentence appeal for it. So I'm just bear with me, because they link together. So then that's because there's still John Button on the right. Sorry, my OBS is stalling. Please hold. And so it was 4 years later where John Button was convicted of murdering his 17-year-old girlfriend, Rosemary Anderson. They were in a car together. They had a fight or something, and she got out of the car. And I think they were saying, he hit her with the car and killed her from memory. That's right, they were celebrating his birthday. And she decided to walk home, that's right, and he followed in his car, but she refused to get in and continued walking, and he stopped to smoke a cigarette, which is a great idea right now, before driving, and then he found her lying on the road, unconscious, and she later died at the hospital. Police, interpreted Button's stutter that he had as nervousness, and as guilt. And I think we still do that to this day. We look at people and go, they sound guilty, or they look guilty, like Chris Watts, whatever. Even though he was. And Button was refused access to his parents or defense counsel, and was hit once by one of the police officers interviewing him. Now, I don't want to say this was normal, but this is normal still, especially with Aboriginals. They'll get beaten up. It's the same as African American people in America getting beaten up. It still happens. It happened then, and it happens now. And they just kept at him so much that he finally confessed. So it was under duress. After 22 hours of interrogating him and beating him. So they brought his car in to trial for evidence, and he was charged with murder, and he served 5 years in prison. Pardon me. His sentence was 10 years. This is what I'm talking about. Say he was guilty. Pardon me, I'm just going about my life here. 10 years for murder. You know, if he was guilty. This is what I'm talking about, the sentences being so ridiculous. But he served so he's innocent. He served 5. Jack Lisa Bray we'll get to that one. And this is where the serial killer Cook ties into the story. So in 1963, like I said, Eric Edgar Cook confessed to the murder of Button's girlfriend Anderson and was arrested in 1963. When he was arrested in 1963, and again before he was executed. At his appeal, the police officer who had examined John Button's car in 1963 told the appeals court that while the car was damaged, the damage was not consistent with hitting a person, and that 3 weeks before Anderson's death, Button had reported to police another incident. This incident report had been known to police at the original trial but had been discounted as irrelevant. The court also heard from Dr. Neil Turner, who had treated Anderson. He claimed that her injuries were not consistent with Button's vehicle. They did they grabbed like identical vehicles for the time, the same make and model, and did experiment after experiment of hitting a person to get the speed and all the rest of it, reconstruction. And it just didn't fit with the car damage or the damage that the doctor testified that she had. And there was a similar car to Button's and an EJ Holden. I think it was a Holden, similar to the one Cook claimed that he was driving when he hit Anderson, and it exactly matched Cook's account, and excluded the Simca, which is what Button was driving. So on the 25th of February 2002, the Court of Criminal Appeal quashed Button's conviction. And now, like to this day, he runs the Western Australian Innocence Project, which aims to free the wrongfully convicted. As far as who killed Gillian Brewer, I don't know that was solved. I'm going to have to look into that one because he was sentenced in 1961 to death by hanging, and after 6 appeals, his conviction was finally overturned in 2005. Cook said before he was hung, "I swear before Almighty God that I killed Anderson and Brewer." So, like, both of those girls. But he won his appeal after six attempts. But it doesn't, there's nothing there that says that, yes, Cook actually did do it before he was hung, or if someone else did it. But they kind of proved that he'd killed John Button's girlfriend, so yeah, maybe it was him. But yeah, I'll have to look into that one. That's quite interesting because because they tied in so much together. And get this, Brewer received, he only received $425,000 as compensation, like in 2011, for being imprisoned, wrongfully imprisoned. 425 Australian dollars, mind you. You know, so I don't know how much that is, but it's pretty crap. Yeah, it's hope I won't get in trouble for this picture. But it's just crazy. So it's going to take 8 hours for me to smoke a cigarette, just because I got a lot to say about these cases. Maybe I should have only done 5 at a time. I was like, yeah, 10's good. 10's good. Imagine what America's going to be like. My gosh. I can do different countries. Canada, wherever. Still early. So I'm just trying to think. I still can't think when we got rid of the death penalty. It was probably in the 60s sometime. So this is 1964. Alexander McLeod Lindsay attempted and sentenced, charged and sentenced for the attempted murder of his wife, Pamela, in New South Wales. Now, his sentence was, and I want you to bear in mind, because this was the original thought of how crap our sentencing laws are. If these people were guilty, his sentence was 18 years. Can you imagine? Even in the US, you would get more, attempted murder, not murder, but attempted murder, you would get more than 18 years, I'm sure. He served 9. So, the story goes that he returned to work to find his wife and son severely beaten. And police developed the theory that he'd slipped away from the hotel, attacked his family, and returned to work unnoticed. He had blood on his jacket, and it was said to have been impact splatter. So if you guys know anything about blood splatter or anything, and so they're saying it was deposited during the attack. So if someone's beaten and it splatters on you, both of them, the wife and the son survived the attack, and she said he didn't attack her. It wasn't him. And she said the attacker had an Australian accent, but Alexander McLeod, by the name, his accent was Scottish. And he was charged anyway with the attempted murder of his wife and son. And the prosecution's theory was that Pamela was lying to protect the family and their income. And he was found guilty, sentenced to 18 years. He served 9, and then he was exonerated after further review by another blood spatter pattern expert, who determined that the pattern was likely caused by transfer when he cradled his wife rather than by the blows. So that was interesting. I mean, you've got the wife there literally saying he didn't attack me. So it was just crazy. Crazy. Yeah, I think that might be good, Jack Lissy Bro. Yeah, I didn't realise that I would go into so much detail about them just because I haven't done true crime for so long and I know these stories. So a lot's coming back to me without research, just like little details and that, like in the Button case, because I just found it fascinating, what they did back then to kind of try and disprove the prosecution's theories and things like that. So, then I could do more every day. And then when I get to the US one, we're gonna be doing that for 8 years, I think. There's gonna be so many, so many. In 1973, the death penalty abolition. I can't even read today. Abolition Act of the Commonwealth abolished the death penalty for federal offences. Oh, 73. It was that late. Wow. Queensland abolished the death penalty in 1922. Right. It's 100 years ago almost. That's where I am. New South Wales, that's where Hot Scorpio Road is, abolished the death penalty for murder in 1955 and for all crimes in 1985. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do this last one, and then I'll do the other 5 on my next live. Everybody knows this case, I think, around the world. All I gotta say is a dingo ate my baby. Lindy Chamberlain. 1980. I was 5. Murder of her daughter Azaria Chamberlain. Remember, they were out camping, and this was in the Northern Territory, so I'm in Queensland at top north east, and so it's at the top in the middle of Australia. Now she was given life. Dingo took my baby. This is probably, I want to say, the only case that would have garnered worldwide attention. They were camping at Uluru, I think, Ayers Rock, and her baby was taken. Azaria was taken. And she was sentenced to life imprisonment. And her daughter was only 9 weeks old at the time, and she claimed that a dingo took her baby. And in 1986, so 6 years later, a British tourist fell to his death at Uluru, Ayers Rock, whilst hiking, and during the search for him, they actually found Azaria's missing jacket in an area full of dingo lairs. So the dingoes, have all of these little nesting like areas that they kind of sleep in and stay in. And so then the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory ordered Lindy Chamberlain's immediate release, and the case was reopened on the 15th of September 1988, I think. So it was like 8 years later again. The Northern Territory Court of Criminal Appeals unanimously overturned all convictions against Lindy and her husband Michael, who had been convicted of accessory after the fact. I guess you could say it's still unknown as to what has happened, but finding her jacket, in a bunch of dingo lairs, like 6 years later, kind of like alludes to the fact that she was telling the truth. And I mean, it's entirely possible. Dingoes are very sneaky and very vicious. Not sure exactly what a fox is like, but was it the 40th anniversary of Azaria's death was last month. Lindy did the documentary. People still hound her in public, but howling at her. Pathetic. I agree, MJ. I didn't know that. So that was, yeah, 40 years. And they still, she's going to be hounded, pardon the puns, yeah. The for the rest of her life. There are still people out there who treat her like crap and think, yeah, Azaria, thank you, yeah. So the death certificate now says death by dingo, right? But imagine what her and Michael had to go through all of those years, and to go to prison for even 3 years was just shocking. This is one case that Australia will always remember, and I think the rest of the world just knew it too. You know, I can't think of another case where it just went global the way this did. That birth certificate change was so important to the family. Yeah, to finally have that. It doesn't undo, though, all the damage that was caused, all the abuse, you know. We know that you could put actual evidence in front of someone and they'll still say, no, you're guilty, you killed your baby, you know, all the rest of it. So I have another 5 to go, but yeah, I think Checklist Bro, you're right. I think maybe split them up. I can even skip through and mix them up and do a different country, you know, tomorrow or whenever I go live next. Whatever you guys think. I don't know if you guys find this interesting or not. Yeah, just to think, getting back into the true crime and things like that, just trying to think up, you know, new and different things. And I kind of hadn't seen a lot of people talk about miscarriages of justice and things like that. Lindy still has a nice outlook on life. Amazing, really, considering how she was treated. Yeah. More streams. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm enjoying getting back into this and talking to everybody. But yeah, having everyone's voting more streams and maybe more trophies, more pickle trophies and things like that. That hasn't arrived yet, Checklist Bro. Pickle trophy. I just want to make sure that they got the engraving right. I just hope they did. Check out Georgia Hill. She was in jail for murder of her DV husband and served, I think it was 5 years, and she was released. What about that one that killed her? He was her sex trafficker, and was jailed. Oh my god, the uproar on that made me so mad. Jack Lucy Bro, I know, I'm sorry, I failed. I'm trying. I'm trying. I didn't go cold turkey. I've alternated. I know I'm horrible. I'm horrible. Oh, hold on, check the tracking numbers. But yeah, send me a photo of the pickle trophy when you get it. Yeah. Okay. Alright, I'll do another 5. The next one I might do America. Might do USA or Canada or somewhere like that. And yeah, it'll be fun. But that's that's a good number for today. And there's another 5 Australian ones to do as well. But thank you for coming in, everybody. Still getting used to doing these. I know, it's so hard, Jack Lucy, bro. Like, you wouldn't think sugar would be a big deal, but, like, if it's something you've been drinking for, like 25 years or something, it's like, it's harder to get off that than, my God, Valium, narcotics for my chronic pain. I've stopped them cold turkey, easy. This is hard. This is so hard. Even worse than quitting smoking. And the side effects of the headaches. Crazy. But I will be back when I can be back. And try and shuffle this all around Trilogy Media. Didn't realise they were going live today. But thank you for coming in, everybody. And hopefully I'll be back again tomorrow.